Hi everybody.
Hi everybody.
My name is Elizabeth and I am a personal coach and soon to be a certified nutrition specialist in Maryland, and this is
Jocelyn.
And today we're here to show you that kids can cook
And
good food can be fun. So today we're going to show you how to make easy fermented vegetables at home. The things that you need today are sea salt,
cabbage, Granny Smith apples, carrots, onions,
green onions,
and I forgot the name.
cilantro. And this is a tamper, so this is actually from my Vitamix blender. You don't need to have this. You just need to have something that you can push your fermented vegetables down with.
I was wondering what that was for.
Well, now you know. And then we each have a cutting board. We each have a bowl. So my bowl is a little bit bigger than hers. So first, before we start, I want to talk to you guys about why you want to eat more fermented foods.
What? Sorry.
So the first reason why is because the fermentation process creates probiotics in the food. And probiotics can help to strengthen the immune system, and they also help to flush toxins and waste out of your body, and they help your body also to create vitamins B, K, and C, which you need, and they actually help your body to process those vitamins too. We used to ferment foods much more than we do now. But over the years, everybody has become more concerned about the sterilization process of vegetables. But what actually happens is that by freezing and blanching and canning our vegetables, we actually take the nutrients out of the vegetables.
Take the nutrients out of the vegetables?
It's true.
Oh.
So by fermenting the vegetables, you are not only deepening the flavors of them, but you're also retaining the nutrients in them. And there's some concern people have over fermenting their vegetables at home. They're afraid of botulism, bacteria growing in the ferment, but there's ways to tell whether your ferment has gone bad, and it's pretty obvious. So I've been doing this now for about 2 years. I've never had a bad batch.
I'm a doctor.
For me, you're a doctor today?
No, I'm not.
This is one of my favorite things because you can grab one of your ferments and it's just kind of in the fridge, and the way that I store them actually keeps everything single serve, and it makes it really convenient to eat it along as a side dish.
Mommy, this is like Mickey's air balloon.
I know. So we're going to go ahead and get started.
Oh, yay!
You ready?
Uh-huh. Where's my scissors?
Okay, so we just have one purple cabbage. If I was doing a larger batch, I would have more. Oh, I forgot to mention that there's 2 really helpful cookbooks that I use often. The first one is Fermented Veggies by Kristen and Christopher Shockey. This one is really good, and it's actually takes some of the principles out of the other cookbook I use a lot, Nourishing Traditions by Sally Fallon. This cookbook is a more modern version of the Sally Fallon cookbook, and it only focuses on the fermented veggies portion of Sally's cookbook. And I find it to be really, really helpful, and I also love the pictures, which is really important to me for some reason. I just really like the visual presentation of this cookbook. So I highly recommend both of these. And
why do I have to cut onions?
Hold on, we gotta take off the yucky ones.
So weird.
So the other thing about fermenting your own veggies. So I ended up with 3 bunches of green onions in the refrigerator. I don't know, it's something I always buy when I go to the store. And since they've been in the fridge for about a week now, they start to get a little bit
yucky.
So the good thing about fermenting your veggies, as long as the veggies aren't bad, obviously you don't want to ferment bad veggies, but if they're looking a little bit sad and like they need something, you can ferment them still. You just have to kind of pick off the dead ones. So that's one of the things that our ancestors used to do when they had an overabundance of vegetables in their harvest during the summer. They would take the vegetables and they would either ferment them or pickle them. So that's something that we over the years have stopped doing because of the convenience of commercialized vegetables, canning and freezing them. So if you have an overabundance of vegetables,
Mommy,
you can just ferment them. Yeah, I'm just gonna cut off that.
The dead ones.
Yeah, just that.
Watch
your fingers.
Dead ones.
Watch your fingers.
That looks disgusting.
Move your fingers from my cutting board.
That was an accident.
I know. I just don't want to cut you.
Yeah.
It's not yuck, it's just a little bit wilted, that's all.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna let Jocelyn
Cut those onions.
cut those onions with
And
some scissors. She's
Mommy,
got kitchen shears.
I will never forgive you because
You'll never forgive me.
onions, the onion juice will go in my eyes and then they'll start making tears.
No, these are green onions. They won't make you cry.
Oh.
Just the white ones, the regular ones.
Oh.
Okay, so
I
cut them like this long, okay?
That one.
Sort of like as long as your pinky finger.
Like
Here,
this.
why don't you just start with one?
What?
Do one at a
One?
time, and then you cut them right into this bowl, okay?
Like this?
Yes. Yes, perfect. Great. Okay, so you do that, and I'm gonna do the harder parts, okay? I'm just gonna take the wilty part of the cabbage off because we don't need to ferment that part. This is a really small ferment because I only have one head of cabbage.
I'm not using.
Most of the
Mom,
time.
do I have to use this part too?
Yeah, sure.
What?
Cut it in long strips. Make sure you're missing your fingers, okay? That's good. Throw that part right in there. So normally I would do a bigger batch, but this is just what I had, so this is what we're gonna use. Now, something to talk about. One of the important things about when you're fermenting vegetables is that you have to be sure that the fermented vegetables that you're making are below the brine line. So you're gonna have, it's like after we put all this together, the salt is going to create a chemical reaction with the vegetables, and it's going to actually make the vegetables release the water. Yeah, chemical reaction, chloride.
I've always loved science when I was little.
Well, you're still little. What happens is it creates this chemical reaction that makes the vegetables release the water in them, and
I want to.
it makes a salty brine, which is like this liquid. So then you have like all this liquid after you let it sit for a little while, and
I want to watch.
Yeah, you'll be able to see it. And
that's so cool.
The key to keeping your ferments from growing bacteria or anything like that is to make sure that your vegetables stay below the brine line. And that means that you just have to make sure that the vegetable portion of your ferment is submersed in the liquid portion of it. So the liquid has to go higher than the vegetable. And one way that you can make sure that that happens is by weighting your vegetables down.
I know, my tears are coming out.
They are? So they really did make you cry. You okay? So they make commercial versions of the vegetable weights. Okay, you're almost done. But you can also just improvise. So you can save this part of the cabbage. You just have to poke a hole in it so you can kind of dig it out afterwards. Yep, you're done. So what happens is you gotta make sure that you weight your vegetables down. You can use the core of the cabbage for that. For this one, I'm gonna actually slice up the apple, and I'm gonna use this green apple to weigh everything down. So I'm just gonna slice up this cabbage really, really thin. I'm removing the core from it.
Mommy, I should have wore science goggles before I did that.
You should have wore science goggles. Okay, so then I'm gonna just slice the cabbage really thin. Now this is a matter of personal preference.
I gotta use goggles.
If you like your cabbage sliced thicker, then by all means slice it thicker. It's not gonna make any difference in the ferment. You can do chunks of cabbage, you can do slices of cabbage. You can pretty much do whatever size vegetables you want. So I'm gonna cut this, I'm just gonna throw it into this bowl that's right here off the screen for you. So I'm just slicing up the cabbage here. Cool. Justin, did you know that our ancestors used to do this?
What?
Yeah, they used to take their vegetables and they would ferment them so that they could eat them. So if they grew a bunch of vegetables during the summer, they would take them and they would do this fermentation process with them so that they could eat them all winter when it was cold out.
But how did they use knife? How did they cut their food?
They had knives. They would make knives out of stone. I don't know if they...
but
they had metal. I'm talking about when they had metal and knives. I don't know what the cavemen used to do.
Well, they only used, like, wood. They only used wooden carved hammers.
We'll have to read about the
You know,
history of
those
that.
bats.
Stones.
They used wooden bats, and then they started hitting. They started hitting things. That's how they cut it.
Do you think cavemen fermented vegetables?
Nope.
Probably not. Huh?
They eat meat.
You can really add whatever vegetables that you want to this. We're gonna use carrots in this one. Just like with the cabbage, you can cut this however you want to. I'm just doing matchsticks. So I'm just cutting them into 3 sticks. And you can do what you want.
Mom, I found a book.
Let's see.
Daddy, help me.
What does it say in there about fermented veggies?
Wait, first, no, it doesn't
And then
say anything about
I
fermented
have
veggies.
a bunch of
It's just
cilantro.
one of those fake books.
It's a fake book. So I'm just going to use a little bit of the cilantro.
Here it is.
I mean, about half
Here it
of
is.
a bunch.
See it?
And that's just my own taste.
See, Mom?
Oh, they're eating vegetables. They're not. I don't see them fermenting though.
So look at him.
I
Do you see
see.
his tongue? He hates.
He only likes meat. And I'm just going to roughly chop this cilantro. Like I said, I'm just doing that for the flavor.
I gotta show them. How am I
Here,
gonna
I'll show them.
Show them.
Jocelyn wants you to see this guy here. See him eating?
Wait, no. It's not that cold. It's not. See the guy eating not the veggies?
He's just eating meat, right? So now I'm gonna slice up the apple and then we're gonna put everything together. So for this apple, you have to core it. You wanna take the core out of the apple because you're gonna slice this into thin slices to weight down the ferment. But then you wanna be able to take the apple core out when, or the apple slice out. You wanna be able to take the apple slice out when you're done fermenting.
Cool. Go!
Right. I got it.
Oh, snap.
Okay, so then I'm just gonna slice this. We have quite a few jars. I don't know how much we're gonna be able to fill because this was just a little bit of vegetables, cabbage that we used.
When am I gonna cut something?
You're gonna help me
cut this?
massage the ferment.
So I can't cut this?
No, we're gonna save that for Taco Tuesday.
Taco Tuesday?
Yeah.
When is it gonna be Tuesday?
2 sleeves. Okay, so here's all of our slices. If you have, obviously you're gonna need 1 slice for each jar that you use. You can also buy this stuff commercially, but I just don't. I don't know. It's always worked for me the way that I've done it. You can by all means go online and you can look at this stuff. You can look at even like mason jars that are specifically made for this. I actually have a sour crock that I use for larger batches. It's just a big crock that comes with stone weights, and you can put a large batch of fermented vegetables in there. I use that one if I'm making kimchi because I like to make that in big batches. But otherwise, I just use mason jars for everything. You don't have to use gloves. The gloves come in handy if you're making a kimchi or something that's spicy because you don't want to get the spice on your hands. I don't know. I'm picky. I don't like to put my hands in the whole thing and then jar it up. Okay, so let me give you some of this mixture and add it with the green onions, and then you can give me some of your green onions to put in this, okay? Good deal? Okay, can I have some green onions? And then I'll give you some of this.
Okay.
Ready? A little bit more? Okay, good. Here's yours. So now mix your green onions up with the rest of your veggies. Nice mixing, nice mixing. Okay, so our veggies are incorporated together. So now this is the part where it starts to matter what you're doing. Because you don't want your ferment when it gets done to taste really, really salty. So you have to taste this as you go. And just remember that if it tastes good when it's fresh, it's gonna taste good when it's fermented. Since this is a small batch, we're not gonna need very much salt. But really, literally just start with like a tablespoon of salt.
Can I try that?
And then kind of taste it as you go. You want to put enough salt in to make it a brine, but you don't want to put so much salt that it's not going to taste good. So you just incorporate the salt and then massage it. And you can get like rough with it. You want to actually get the salt really, really incorporated with the vegetables so that it releases the water. The brine is the thing that's going to keep your ferment from going bad. So you want to make sure you have enough brine. Want some more salt?
Don't put too much salt on it.
Nope, not too much. Do you see the water releasing after the chemical reaction with the salt?
Yeah.
And the vegetables?
Yeah, I see the water releasing. And I also feel it too.
That's part of the indication as to whether you have added enough salt, because you'll start to see, I don't know how well you can see this. I should have showed you the before, but everybody knows what cabbage looks like when you cut it. It's dry, but you can see how it's starting to get wet in there. So you just continue massaging and massaging and massaging until you start to see like it'll be literally like a puddle of water in the bottom of this.
She's so good.
I have enough salt, do you? This is just one head of cabbage. I think I probably added about a tablespoon altogether of salt. So really you're trying to break down that membrane on the vegetable to allow the salt to permeate it, because you want the water to be released, because that brine is what's going to keep your ferment from going bad. It's a puddle. Okay, keep massaging. You want to massage until your vegetables are a little wiggly. See, they're kind of wiggly. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Oh, you do have a puddle going. That's good. We're gonna cover this with some plastic wrap.
Oh, plastic wrap? I'll get the plastic wrap.
Okay. We want this to have a little bit of time to chill out and let the water release from the vegetables, because we want to have as much brine as we possibly can.
Can I try that?
If you let this sit for about an hour and you notice that there's not really very much liquid in there, you can add more liquid. It's not gonna hurt it if you use fresh water. Preferably not tap water because it's chlorinated, but if you use even distilled water, that's usually what we use. So you're gonna let this sit for about an hour, and then we're just gonna let this chill out. We're gonna pause the video and we'll come back after it sits for an hour. Okay, now we're back and we have a new guest with us. This is...
Yes. Austin.
And Austin, how old are you?
4.
How old are you?
6.
Yes. Okay. So we've let our vegetables sit in salt basically for about an hour, and now hopefully you can see it. We have quite a bit of water that has collected under in the vegetables. So the things that we have now, this is our tamper, which I showed you guys earlier. This is just to push the vegetables down into the jars. We're using 8-ounce wide mouth mason jars. And I like to use these because this is basically one serving for one person. So as I'm leaving for work in the morning, I can grab one of these and I can have it during the day, or at dinner time, or even as a snack if I just feel like eating some fermented veggies.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, you too. Can just grab one of these out of the fridge, and that can be like a little snack or a little side dish for you at dinner or whatever. So these I found to be the easiest because it helps to reduce the waste that can happen if you put ferments into a large jar. So it's really a personal thing, but this keeps them fresher for longer, and you also can just very easily grab it out of the fridge and eat it. And then we have the rings that go on our jars, and the lids. These are just standard mason jar lids. And I'm using the wide mouth jars just because it's easiest to get everything in there, and it's easiest to help them ferment. We also have water because if we get the vegetables in there and I notice that there's not enough brine, I'm just gonna top it off with some water to make it to the correct level. And then we have down here, which you can't really see, is a tray. And as we fill up each of the jars, we're just gonna put them onto the tray. And this whole tray is gonna sit on the countertop for about 7 days, and it's gonna let the vegetables ferment, and then we're gonna put them in the fridge. We'll talk about that in a minute. So we're just gonna go ahead and start filling up the jars.
Can I do mine?
Yep, here, put a jar on your towel. Okay, so we're gonna share the tamper because we only have one. So put some vegetables in your jar and fill them.
With my bare hands?
Well, with your gloved hands. Yeah. Okay, just put them in there.
Oh, that's why you put a towel on.
Yep, you put a towel under you to catch the mess, because you're gonna make a mess and it's not even gonna be on purpose. So we're not gonna get very many vegetables out of this since we didn't really have that many, that much cabbage. But that's fine, we're just making a small batch today.
Okay, that's enough for this one.
All right, so then once you get your vegetables in the jar, you're just gonna press it down.
I'll press it down. Can I use that?
And you want to make sure that you...
Can I taste it?
You can taste it, Don't put it back in the jar though, just eat the whole thing, okay? Because we don't want your germs in there. So we press it down,
Can I have it?
and you're gonna press it just below the edge of where there's like a little edge here that kind of stops the lid from screwing down, and you want your vegetables kind of just below that edge. So you want to press them in as much as you can because you want to reduce air pockets that are in there, because the more air that you have in there, the more chances you have of your ferment going bad. We've got 3 jars now.
3 jars.
And then we're going to take one of these slices of apple.
What are we going to do?
And we're going to put it on top because this is going to hold our vegetables down.
Oh,
see how perfectly that fits on the top of it?
Yeah.
We're just going to push it gently so that it's below. And you still want this to be, once you get the apple on there, the slice is going to come up just below that edge of the lid still.
Like this? Down here?
So now we can take the brine that's in the bowl and we'll just
I see the
pour it,
Ooh.
paying really close attention to where it's going because you want it to come above the apple just enough. Yep, just carefully pour.
Mommy, grab mine.
Yeah, hold on. Let's just make sure Sissy doesn't have a... No, you want to see how Mommy's is? You want the liquid to fully cover the top of the apple. Good. So you want it to cover the top of the apple.
Water. There's not enough wine.
It's okay. We'll just fill the other jars up with just water, okay? I'm going to help you just a little bit.
We got it.
Okay, so we're going to fill yours up now. Ooh! Yours had more liquid in it than Sissy's and I did. Okay. So now we've got our liquid in there. So listen, when we put the lid on, we're going to make sure we don't tighten it all the way, okay? It's got to be a little bit loose because what's going to happen, so that if this is tight, you want to go like 1/2 screw from being the tightest you can get it.
Mommy, it's not tight.
Because then
Mommy,
you're going to be able to let the...
Mine is not tight.
I know, I got to put a lid on it still for you. So if it's all the way tight, you want to go about 1/2 so that's going to let because what's going to happen is as it starts to ferment, it's going to create gases from the fermentation.
Ew!
And no, it's good gases. And you want to be able to let that release without letting anything into the jar that's gonna spoil your ferment. So if you just loosen it just a touch, it'll let the gases out and it's not gonna let anything bad in. So like I said earlier, as you let this ferment, you're gonna leave this out on your counter for about 7 to 10 days. You can open it midway. Usually I just leave them out for like 7 to 10 days and I don't really open them. You can open it around day 7 to see how it tastes and to see if it tastes the way that you want it to. And then once you've let it stay out for 7 to 10 days, then you're gonna move everything to the refrigerator. And then once it's in the refrigerator, you can just take it out at any point to eat it. You don't have to leave it for 7 days if you don't want to. It just depends upon what kind of flavor you want it to be. Because as you leave it out, you don't want to leave it any more than 10 days, but as you leave it out, it's actually going to deepen the flavor a little bit more. So we're just going to continue filling up our jars until all of our ferment is gone. Don't sneeze on it.
I sneezed in my hands.
Ooh, that was a close one. You don't actually have to have a tamper. You can just use your fingers. Especially in these small mason jars, they're really, really easy to tamp down. Okay, so we're gonna leave these on the counter like I said, for 7 to 10 days. We'll make a separate video of that when we get finished fermenting them. So we hope you enjoyed our video, and if you did, please like and subscribe down below, and join us back here for when we open our ferments, and we'll show you what they look like when you open them. So we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.